Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Gemini adoption series. There will be a total of 6 modules for this adoption series, in which each module will cover different topics related to Gemini for Google Workspace. So please attend our upcoming webinars to gain more insights and stand a chance to win Grab vouchers throughout the event. So before we start our session today, so let me introduce myself first. So my name is Brenda Brain, and I will be your speaker for today. So without wasting our time, let's start with our first module, which is security and privacy, which I believe most of our customers are concerned about when they want to use Gemini for Google Workspace. So first, we're going to talk about why customers are concerned about the security when it comes to Gen AI. So as we all know, the rise of generative AI has brought incredible opportunities, but it also introduces significant new challenges, especially when it comes to data security, right? So the way we create, share, and interact with information which we are giving to the AI to get the results that we want. So, which means we need to be more vigilant when we share those informations with AI, right? So we need to ensure that our sensitive data doesn't accidentally expose through the AI tools, so that it's not being exposed to public or to the AI itself for its training, right? So the next slide, you will be seeing the data concerns surrounding Gen AI. So there are 3 of the main data concerns that we'll be focusing on. So first is ingestion of sensitive data. The first and most immediate concern is the ingestion of sensitive data. So when you think about it, for example, when employees is using AI tool, they might not know that the input of confidential companies information like financial records or just some data which is not supposed to be exposed, right? So if they are using the public model of AI, so your data has a possibility to be leaked out to the public. So this data could then be used to train the AI, potentially exposing it to unauthorized third parties. Okay, so this is why it is not, we don't encourage our employees to use the public AI. The free version of Gemini, or the free version of ChatGPT, or free version of Copilot. We don't um, suggest employees to do that, especially when it comes to working with companies' data. Okay. The second one is insufficient security controls. Okay, so many of the shelf AI tools lack the robust security features that businesses require. So without proper controls, organization can't enforce policies on how data is shared across the organization and also across the AI tool. So, what kind of data can be processed by AI? This lack of oversight creates a significant vulnerability, leaving your company's data exposed and also unmanaged. And then the third concern surrounding Gen AI is the non-compliance with data regulations. Okay, so finally, this all leads to a major issue. So with regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, and others, companies are legally obligated to protect sensitive data. If sensitive information is mishandled by an AI tool, it can result in severe fines, legal action, and a damage in reputations, right? So ensuring your AI tools comply with these regulations isn't just a best practice, but it's a legal necessity. All right. So going on to the next slide, we will be talking about um, what Google Workspace with Gemini gives you. So choice and control over your organization's data. So we know that data security, confidentiality, and also compliance are top priorities for most of the business leaders when adopting AI. Yeah, so some companies they do encourage their users, their employees to use AI, but they are also concerned about the security. So Google is committed to helping this kind of business leaders to keep your data safe. So Google Workspace with Gemini does not change Google's foundational privacy protection. So that it gives you choice and control over your organization's data. So for example, the security, the privacy protections that they have applied in Google Workspace itself is also applied to Gemini. Okay, so Gemini, when you use Gemini in Google Workspace, your data is your data. So what does that mean? Okay, Google don't use your data prompts or generated responses to train Gemini models outside of your without your organization's permission. So meaning that also we don't sell your data to the public. Okay, so the ads who are targeting on businesses, they will also not get this informations of your company. So you are also in control of your own data. So Google built Gemini with enterprise-grade controls to help you roll out Gemini while protecting your sensitive data. So Gemini only retrieves relevant data that the user has permission to access and relevant data that the user has permission to access. All right. You can also stay compliant because Gemini for Google Workspace is the first gen AI that has all the compliance such as the SOC 123, ISO 42001. Yeah. So don't worry when you are using Gemini in Google Workspace because it's already data and also privacy compliance. So the good news is that, as I have mentioned earlier, security isn't an afterthought. Of course, when Google built this Gemini for Google Workspace, data security is not an afterthought. They have, put this in their architecture. All right. They have put this in their architecture so that they are able to cater to all the businesses. All right. This means that your team can use Gemini to draft emails, summarize documents, or brainstorm ideas. The same enterprise grade security you trust from Google is already included. So Google is not adding another layer, but it's a must and it's already in the package. Okay. So in short, as you can see on this slide over here, your data is your data and it does not belong to Google. So whatever prompt that you have given Gemini, it is not used, as mentioned earlier, it is not used to train the AI model. And existing workspace privacy, security, and compliance protections extend to Google Workspace together with Gemini to help keep customers' data protected. And then you are also in control. So Google, Gemini in Google, it has the built-in controls to help you safeguard sensitive data from oversharing risk. So Google Workspace with Gemini respects existing data access and security controls in your organization and only retrieves relevant data that the user has the permission to access to. So for example, if the user does not have access to a document in Google Drive, okay, it is not shared to them, so they will not be able to retrieve that document. So let's say I didn't share this document to um, Zach. So Zach will not have the ability to, get the information from the document because I didn't share it with him at first place. Yeah. And then, as we have mentioned earlier, you can decide how to roll out Gemini across your organization. So your admin, through the admin console, they are able to turn on off the access to the Gemini app and Notebook LM for specific organizational units or groups such as users in the legal department. So users have the control over smart features in Google Workspace. Smart features give users a richer experience, okay, allowing them to do everything from using Google Workspace with Gemini app to reference drive files right from Gmail, automatically adding events such as, flights from Gmail to calendar, and yeah, more. But since today we're focusing on the Gemini, so I'm not going to touch the rest, which is also related to the use of this control in your Google Workspace. But I'm just going to focus on the control for Gemini. So as you can see on this slide right now, okay, so Gemini is the first enterprise ready certified AI assistant. Because why? Because it has all the certifications, okay, that security, privacy, and safety are needed. Okay, so as you can see here, it has attained the SOC 1, 2, 3, then the ISOs, and also the HIPAAs. Okay, so you don't have to worry when you're using Gemini, your data are protected because it is already gaining all the certs ready. Here you can see the comparison between the different AIs that we commonly use, um, that other organizations are also commonly used. So as you can see here, Google Workspace with Gemini and the Gemini app have achieved a comprehensive set of safety, privacy, and security certifications, right? As I mentioned earlier, the SOC 123, the ISOs, and also the HIPAAs, right? All right. Then the next one that we are going to talk about is Gemini is an extension of the user. Gemini is designed to be an extension of the user. This is a crucial point for all of us to understand. So essentially, Gemini cannot access anything that the user themselves does not have access to. So as I have mentioned earlier, for example, if I didn't share a document to Zach, so most probably Zach will not be able to get information from that data. He can only get the data from which he have access to, which is from of his own ownership. Yeah, so this also means that as an organization, you need to consider how you currently manage your user access to company information, right? So if those information is not supposed to be shared, although it's within your own organization, it is not supposed to be shared with other department, then you should not share it, right? Yeah, so all these controls needs to be practiced. Okay, now let's look at the existing security controls that apply to Google Workspace with Gemini. So first we have the user and the device they are using. We can manage who accesses Gemini and from what device. But this actually depends on what plan you are on. So the higher your Google Workspace plan is, and the higher the ability for you to control your users. All right. This all interacts with the data within Google Workspace. Key security measures like DLP and IRM, DLP and context-aware access, DLP and AI classification, and client-side encryption play a crucial role in protecting data. But as I have mentioned earlier, um, if you are on the basic plan, you might not have this capability to also control your Google Workspace and also your Gemini. So if you would like to upgrade to higher plans of Google Workspace so that you are able to get the most of the security controls, then feel free to talk to us. All right. Then finally, let's talk about the how. So we understand that every organization has unique security needs. That's why Google Workspace gives you the power to configure Gemini security controls to fit your specific requirements. You can customize settings to manage your data, how your data is being used, control access for different user groups, and set policies that align with your company's compliance standards. So this ensures that you can leverage the power of AI safely within your organization. So let's begin by discussing user access to workspace with Gemini. So to manage which user can access Gemini features, you refer to the documentation. Okay, so yeah, you can refer to this documentation over here. So this documentation will guide you through the process of setting up and controlling user access. So maybe after this webinar is done, so we will be sending out the appropriate slides so that you will be able to refer to some of the information being shared during this talk. Okay. So yes, it has the ability. So it's important to note that this particular feature for managing user access, as I have mentioned earlier, is not available to all Google Workspace plans, but it's limited to a higher plan such as Enterprise Standard and also Enterprise Plus. And then now let's talk about user access to the Gemini app itself. So to manage this, you'll want to refer to this documentation over here, which you will be able to get this information, this documentation from the Google Workspace website. Okay, so the great news is that this access control for the Gemini app is available across all Google Workspace plan. Yeah, so you don't have to worry. It's not limited to only the higher plans, but this control is available across all Google Workspace editions, okay, which are listed over here. Okay, now let's discuss the Workspace extension for Gemini. Okay, so the key question here is, should the Workspace extension for Gemini be enabled? So just like the Gemini app access, the availability for controlling the Workspace extension for Gemini is broad. This means that across these various editions, you have the ability to manage whether the Workspace extension for Gemini is active for your users or not. You can turn this on for your users or you can turn it off for your users. So it's up to your company whether you want your users to use AI for their work or not. So it's up to you to decide. Okay, now let's address the device access to the Gemini app. The question we're focusing on here is what devices are allowed to access Gemini. So this is a higher level of security managing. Yeah, so this is already related to devices. So this feature for managing device across to the Gemini app is available within the Google Workspace editions of Frontline Standard, Enterprise Standard, and Enterprise Plus, Education Standard, and Education Plus, and also the Enterprise Essential Plus with Cloud Identity Premium. So if you are on a higher plan, yes, you are able to also manage which device they are able to access into Gemini app. And also when it comes to workspace with Gemini and DLP, data loss prevention. So as I have mentioned earlier, not all plans have access to it. So if your company, if your organization are focusing and is concerned about data security, so I would suggest you to go for a higher plan so that you are able to have a hold on all the security features that Google Workspace could offer. So if a user isn't allowed to download, print, or copy files based on the information rights management, and Gemini can't access those files or their content on the user's behalf. So this is through the back end. So if you are on a higher plan, then you are able to control this within your users in your organization. So let's now discuss how client-side encryption impacts Workspace with Gemini. The key takeaway here is that Workspace with Gemini is unable to act on email and files that are encrypted with customer controlled keys. If your organization utilizes client-side encryption, if those data or those documents are encrypted, so it actually helps on adding on another extra layer of security that actually prevents Gemini from accessing and processing the data itself. So this ensures that highly sensitive data protected by client-side encryption remains inaccessible to Gemini. Yeah, so if some of you might have sent email and that email or that document is encrypted and is password protected, then of course Gemini will not be able to access into it. Okay, there are more to talk when it comes to security, right? So now how you can monitor workspace with Gemini data access using the security investigation tool. All right. So the key point here is that Workspace with Gemini data access logs are indeed available in the security investigation tool. This means you have the ability to monitor how Gemini is interacting with your organization's data. So there's an image of a glance of it, how it looks like. Okay, how to monitor. So to learn more about this, okay, you will be able to see this documentation in the Google Workspace website under the support section. So the documentation will be titled this Workspace with Gemini Audit Logs Announcement Block. Yeah. So this capability is widely available across many Google Workspace editions. So as you can see here, it's available in Business Starter, Business Standard Plus, Enterprise Starter Standard Plus, Education Fundamental, um, Education Plus, Teaching and Learning, and yeah, much more. And then another extra security feature in Google Workspace that you can rely on is the Google Vault for e-discovery tasks. Okay, so Vault can search and export prompts entered by the users and responses generated by Gemini. So Vault does not support the search or export of many media files that users attach to Gemini app prompts or any media files generated by Gemini app as part of its response to users. Okay, so this search is not applicable for Workspace with Gemini, as no prompts or responses are retained for those interactions. But remember, Vault is only available as an add-on for Business Starter, Business Standard, and enterprise data. Yeah, some plans already include the Google Vault, but some of it you need to include it as an add-on. All right. So we are actually done with our data security talk when it comes to Gemini in Google Workspace. So I guess it's almost the end of our session. So I hope you have keen insights regarding security related to Gemini in Google Workspace, and it's time to test your knowledge. So please feel free to join the quiz. Okay, scan the QR code and you will be able to see a Google form with the quiz. And the winner for each quiz of each webinar will be announced in the last session of the adoption series. And the winner will be able to receive a Grab voucher. So I will hold on the screen for you for 5 minutes so all of you will be able to scan and scan and fill in the quiz, answer the quiz and answer the questions, and we'll then end the session. Okay, but for now, I'll be holding the screen for you for 5 minutes. And yeah, please submit your answer. And the winner will be announced at the end of the webinar. Not this webinar, but on the sixth webinar. As I have mentioned earlier, we have 6 modules. So the sixth session, we will announce the winner. Okay, so I'll be holding this for 5 minutes. guess everyone has scanned and answered the quizzes. So I know most of you are excited to know who are the winner. So please attend our last session, which is on the sixth module. So, all right. I hope everyone enjoyed today's session, and I hope to see you in my other webinar. Thank you and bye. Have a good day.